I got my first 10,000 TikTok followers in less than 6 weeks, and then hit 20,000 followers just 3 weeks later. And since starting this channel, I've helped over 100 people get their first 1,000 followers, and I've even helped a few of them make enough money on TikTok to completely replace their income. Like my client Jared, who added $75,000 in client work in his first month on TikTok. I've had what I would consider a pretty smooth journey on TikTok, but I've also made a lot of mistakes along the way and know that there are a lot of things that I could have done better. I've been thinking about this a lot lately because there's a bunch of you that are messaging me and saying, Mike, like, how would you learn TikTok if you were starting over? And I get it, because if you go on TikTok or even here on YouTube and you search how to grow on TikTok, you are going to see a lot of things. Things like trends, posting 5 times per day, captions, SEO, hashtags, and that's just the beginning. There's also lighting, storytelling, retention editing, outlier research, and so much more. So it's no surprise that when people try to get help, they feel overwhelmed and don't actually know where to start. That's why I've broken down TikTok growth into 9 simple steps. The first step is just having the right mindset. You need to avoid all of the flashy videos and the hacks if you want to be able to build a following and make money on TikTok. And you will see these videos that I'm talking about everywhere. And I know that when I started as a creator, I was watching all of those videos and really just getting myself more confused because of all the conflicting advice. It's also why with my first account, I could never get more than 500 views, and I eventually got shadow banned applying some of this bad advice that you see. But then I started to study the platform and I tried again, and that's when everything started to work. I started studying the other creators in my niche to see what was working for them instead of listening to the guru advice. I learned the basic terms on the platform like hooks and retention and watch time. And if you don't know what these things are yet, it's okay. I'm going to explain them later in the video. But by seeing what other creators, both small creators and large creators, were doing on the platform, I was able to figure out what works and what doesn't for my specific niche. And so you want to be studying the topics that all of the creators are talking about. That's a signal. You want to be looking at the styles and the formats of their videos and look for trends and look for patterns and start experimenting with those in your own content. And more importantly, you want to ignore the things that don't matter, like hashtag strategies and posting times, and instead focus on what really matters. And what really matters is showing up and being consistent with your posting. And that means like consistently showing up and posting a certain amount of times per week, but also being consistent with your topic so the algorithm can figure out what you're about and who they should show your videos to. It's also important to understand and have the mindset right away that this is going to take time. You may not see progress with your videos at first. This isn't like it was years ago where you could post anything and it would go viral. But what I've found is that the people that consistently show up and just keep trying to get better and understand their niche and understand the platform, they may not see results at first, but then they see hockey stick growth when their views take off and they start consistently going viral. But you have to be aware of this and you have to have the right mindset, because the 200 view jail is a real thing and you will experience it, and it makes the journey a lot harder. But if you know to expect it and know that it just means that you need to improve your content in the ways that I'm going to show you in this video, then it becomes easier to stick to it. The second step is to create videos. You just have to start posting. And it's not going to be perfect because this is a skill that you have to develop and you are a beginner. And the only way you'll get better is through practice. So posting consistently is the most important thing you can do. It's more important than having everything figured out. You are going to learn things as you go, and the lessons that you learn will be more impactful as you're solving problems along the way. So all you need to do is make a simple video, edit it, and post it, and then see what happens. Learn from the data. Pay attention to the things that are working for you and the things that aren't working for you, and then double down on the things that are working. If you can combine doing more of what's working and then with the rest of your content experimenting and trying new styles, ideas, and formats, then you're gonna have a really good chance of growing quickly. And if you're nervous about posting, a good entry point are just to create the text-based videos where you do 5 to 8 seconds of a video of you doing something with some helpful text on the screen and a trending sound. Just start there, post those, because you can still add a lot of value to your audience with that type of content, and it's a lot less pressure than talking on screen. But you should still be talking on video. You gotta get used to being on screen. It may be uncomfortable at first. You may not feel great about it, but that's okay. One of the nice things about having the low views early on is that nobody's going to see your mistakes. Nobody's going to see your discomfort as you're starting to figure it out. But as you perfect that skill, as you get better at that skill and you start to get the views, your confidence is going to build. And the great thing is you're going to attract the people that really like you and the way that you do things. So when you first start talking to the camera, Keep it natural. Keep it simple. Be who you are. Don't try to be somebody else. You don't need the crazy B-roll or the editing or the fancy captions or any of that other stuff. Just talk to your viewer and help them. Create the type of content that you've enjoyed consuming in the past or you found helpful in the past, because that's what your audience is going to like too. Step 3 is to avoid the noise. Once you start posting videos, one of the worst things that you can do is start playing the comparison game, especially if you're comparing yourself to the big accounts. They are on a different stage of their journey than you are. And so if they're getting more views or more engagement or making more money, it's because they've already gone through all of the lessons that you're trying to go through. And so it's cool to look at them and be inspired and know that that's where you want to get one day. I think it's great to have creators that you look up to and that inspire you and your account, but you still have to be yourself and you need to do your thing. Don't try to become them. And definitely don't compare your results to theirs, because it's just not fair to you. The other type of noise that you need to avoid is just the bad advice. And one of the easiest ways to do this is that if it sounds too good to be true, if it sounds like a hack that's going to get you a specific result, then it probably doesn't work. There are a lot of things like this on the platform that can lead you astray, and a really good example of this is posting and ghosting. You've probably heard that, oh, I didn't get views because I posted my video and then I didn't get onto the app. And this concept is so silly because TikTok is not going to reward you with views if you get off of the app just to get you back on. If you think about that, doing something as simple as just logging off after you posted a video in order to get more views, like, it's too good to be true, especially when the reality is that you get views based on how much people like your content, and they're going to reward you if you get a lot of people to stay on the app, not reward you to keep you on the app. But the bad advice doesn't stop there, and sometimes it can actually look like really good advice. And a great example of this is posting 3 to 5 times per day. Like, it logically makes sense that if you post more frequently, you're going to have more opportunities to go viral. And it also makes sense that the more you post, the more data you're going to get back. So the faster you can learn or fail forward and then be able to improve your content and start going viral that way. But the problem is that posting 3 to 5 times per day creates a job. It creates pressure. And a lot of times when that happens, you're not consistent, because you might keep up with it for a while, but then you go on these long breaks. And when you come back, your views aren't there because the algorithm really does not like these long breaks from posting. And I know that because I've burned myself out and I've done it myself, and it's always harder to get back started. So what you want to do is focus on consistency first. I'm not even as concerned with how often you post, just posting as much as you can. That way you can show up and stick to that schedule. So that might only be 3 days per week at first, and that's fine. We want to get to a daily posting schedule because that's what TikTok recommends, but I would rather you post every Monday, Wednesday, Friday than post daily and then don't post for 2 weeks and then come back again and post for a few days. We want to avoid that. So instead of trying to post a ton of volume, focus on developing the skills of showing up and posting on a routine schedule. Then increase the frequency, whether that means getting to 1 video per day, which is what I recommend, or increasing to maybe 2 videos, maximum 3 videos per day. You really don't want to start getting in that 4, 5, 7, 9 video per day range because it makes you look like a spammer and TikTok will actually throttle your views. But you can grow incredibly fast with just 1 video per day. But after you're consistent and you've increased your frequency, you might start thinking about posting times. But you need to realize that posting times really don't matter that much. Yes, you can go into your analytics and it will tell you the times that your viewers are most active and therefore most likely to engage with your videos. But all that matters is that it's a good time for you to post, that it fits your life, and that you are able to stay consistent with it. So don't worry about posting perfectly at 4:30 p.m. every single day if that doesn't make sense for your life. Instead, figure out a routine that works for you. Like, it might be, hey, I have to take my kids to school every day, and so first thing I do when I get home, it's 8:30, I post a video. It's all about that consistency, and that is the only reason that posting time matter. You also shouldn't worry too much about hashtags. This is actually one of those things that can be useful when you're first starting your account because it helps the algorithm figure out who you want to show your videos to. And so you can use keywords in the things that you say in the video, the text that you put on the screen, the hashtags, and the things that you write in your description to send signals to the TikTok algorithm saying, this is the type of person I want to see my videos, and this is what my videos are about. And by doing that, they are going to do a better job of showing the videos to the people that are going to watch them. And the watch time, not the hashtags, are what's going to get you the views. So quick edit, because I messed up there. I said that hashtags don't really matter that much and then explain the usefulness of them. And what I meant to say in between there is that hashtags will not make you go viral. Having the exact perfect hashtags aren't going to help. It is a good signal for helping the algorithm figure out what you're about. But if somebody's saying, oh, you need to get this hashtag that has this many uses and is this specific, or some like 3x3 combo thing, like that is not going to get you the result. And very closely related to hashtags is SEO. This is some of that stuff that you should totally ignore because TikTok is not an SEO platform. Usually the people that are talking about SEO on the platform, they're trying to, share their unique mechanism for how to grow. That way they can sell things and all of that kind of stuff. But most of your views aren't coming from search. They're coming from the For You page and your video being shown to new people who are most likely to watch your videos. So the idea, the way that you package your video and the way that you engage people in your video, like the things that make a good video, is way more important than trying to go after SEO keywords. Because if people are stopping scrolling and watching the video and engaging, like those are the things that are going to get your video pushed, and that's where the real traffic comes from. So if you can avoid all of this noise and you can just focus on what really matters, which is grabbing the viewer's attention, getting them to stop scrolling and getting them to watch your video, that is what is going to get you results. And one of the most important and least talked about aspects of getting attention on TikTok is video packaging, and that's why it's step 4. To help illustrate video packaging, I want to talk to you about YouTube for a second and then compare it to TikTok. So in order for you to see this video, you first had to be shown my video, either because you searched or it showed up on your homepage, and you had to click on it. And the thing that made you decide to click on the video was some combination of the title and the thumbnail. And so the very first thing I have to do before you watch the video and it gets pushed is I have to get you to click on it. And the more people that click and the longer that those people watch, the more views my video is going to get on YouTube. So the title and the thumbnail are the packaging on YouTube, and it's very similar on TikTok. But on TikTok, you're not being shown a bunch of still images and titles. Instead, you are seeing videos in real time as you just swipe and scroll through the feed. And so instead of trying to get the click, we need to use our video packaging to stop the scroll and get someone to start watching. And then from there, we can worry about getting them to watch the entire video. But they'll never watch the video. They'll never see the amazing content you're producing if you don't package it in the right way to stop the scroll. And the most important way that we stop the scroll is actually through our hook. Now, when most people think of a hook, they think about what you say in the first 5 seconds of your video. And that's incredibly important. In fact, I would say spending time figuring out what you're going to say and do in the first 5 seconds of your video is more important than everything else. You should put more time into that first 5 seconds than the rest of your video. But those words that you say aren't the only hook in the video. There are actually 2 other hooks, and they're arguably way more important. The first one is the text that you put on the screen, the headline for the video. And the second is the first line of the description that you write for the video. And these are important because ultimately, if somebody scrolls past your video, you are not getting any views. And if all you're doing is a verbal hook, they may not pay attention or listen long enough to realize what the video is about and why they should stop and watch it, and they'll just scroll past. But with a visual hook, like a headline on a video, they are going to be able to figure out what the video is about and whether they want to watch it way faster. Our brain just processes text so quickly that in a split second, they can say, oh, this video is for me, I have to stop. And if you've done that, you've won half the battle. So generally, when we create that video headline, we really want to focus on what are the desires that our viewers have? What is the problem they want to solve? What is the result they want to get? Like, what is the main thing about your viewers that they want to see content about? And if you can speak to that problem or that desire or that result, and especially if you can use curiosity to get them to stick around, you are going to do a really good job of getting people to stop scrolling and watching at least the first 5 seconds. And then your hook can really engage them and get them to watch further. Getting people on TikTok to stop scrolling is the first part of the battle. And it doesn't matter how good your videos are, if you can't win there, you're never going to get the views because they're not actually going to see your great content. But once we get their attention, we get them to stop scrolling, we have to keep them watching in order to get the views. And that's why the fifth step is scripting. You need to learn how to plan your content in a way that's going to keep people engaged and keep them watching for as long as possible. And the first part of your script, and the most important, the part you should spend the most time on, are the first 5 seconds of your video. And I already mentioned this earlier, but I want to explain why. Like, why are the first 5 seconds so important? And it's because a lot of people on their views, like if they go and look at their retention graphs, they see these massive drop-offs in the first 5 seconds, which means that even though they kind of stopped the scroll and they got somebody's curiosity a little bit, they didn't keep them, and so they didn't actually end up getting a lot of views, didn't get a lot of watch time, and it didn't get pushed. So your verbal hook, what you say in the first 5 seconds, is how once they stop scrolling, you keep them there. And it's also important once you get monetized, because under the TikTok Creator Rewards program, you only get paid for qualified views. And one of the big things about qualified views, besides the video being at least a minute long, is that a qualified view is a view where somebody watched for at least 5 seconds. So if you are losing them at the start of the video, you ain't getting paid. And you're not getting watch time reviews either, so it's really important. So we have to use our script to create retention, to get people to watch longer. So how do you do that? There are a couple of ways, actually. There's a lot of ways, if I'm being honest, but I want to share with you 2 of them that I think are the easiest to implement and work really well. The first way is by mastering open loops. Open loops create curiosity. It's when you get somebody interested, but you don't give them all the information. You don't give them the answer. You don't finish the story, so they keep watching, because the way that we are wired as humans is that once we've sunk our teeth into something, we can't quit until we know what happens. And if you're a reader like me, you know exactly what open loops are, because every single chapter in a novel is an open loop. Something happened previously and you started reading because you're curious about it, and they're building up the story and you're going through this mini climax that ends with something new happening, and then the chapter ends and you have to go on to the next chapter. And it's even more frustrating if there's multiple viewpoints in the book, because now you have to wait 3 chapters to see what happens to this one. But then you go to that next chapter and something happens to that character, and now it switches back to this one, and you don't even care anymore because you got hooked with an open loop from the new character. And so if you read, you understand what open loops are. And what it comes down to in a video is that you need to create a question in your viewer's mind. Like, I've started the question of like, what is an open loop? How do I master open loops to get more retention? And so the first step is that you create the question. The second step is that you don't answer it right away, which you notice I told you this story, I gave you an example, but I didn't necessarily give you the steps right away. By not answering right away, you're creating tension, which makes them more engaged and more likely to watch further or read further. And then finally, you give them the answer. This is the payoff. It's the reward. It's that what gives them that feeling of like, ah, yes, I'm glad I watched that video.
It's done.
But you always want to be creating a new loop. And so in a long video like this on YouTube, I'm constantly opening loops, drawing them out, giving you the answer, and then opening another loop over and over and over, so that way you can get all the information you need and I can keep you watching as long as possible. And you even saw me do this just a second ago, because I created the question of like, how do I increase retention? And I said there are 2 strategies. And the first one I taught you was mastering the open loop. And I had a mini open loop in that, but I had a bigger open loop in that I haven't told you the second strategy yet. So the second strategy is called the but, therefore storytelling method, which was made popular by the creators of South Park. And the whole point of this is that even now, I'm in this video where I'm giving you a list of steps that you need to take in order to learn TikTok and be successful and grow your account. But what I'm not doing is saying first you do step 1, and then you do step 2, and then you do step 3, and then you do step 4, because that's really boring. And the point the South Park creators made is that when you're telling a story or giving a list and you're just saying, and then this happened, then this happened, then this happened, that you're not doing a good job of telling a story. And instead, you should be using the words but and therefore to tell your story and move from point to point, instead of this happened, then this happened, then this happened. So instead, when you're telling a story, you say, this thing happened, but then this happened, and therefore this happened. And so maybe in a book, it's these people are going on a journey to do this thing, but then they got attacked by this group of people from whatever, and so therefore they had to go into the big, scary city that no one was supposed to go into. And if you're a fan of the Wheel of Time like I am, or any kind of like adventure stories at all, like you recognize that kind of scenario. But you can do it in your content as well. Another way that I use it in educational content you've already seen here is that I will say, you need to do this. But if you only do that, you're not going to get results because you're going to be missing this element, and therefore you need to do this as well. Now, in the previous step of this video, I talked to you about how you can use the first line of your description as part of your hook to get people to stop scrolling, and how if they end up reading, the video is still playing and it increases retention as well. So I actually want to go back to that point and give you a third bonus strategy to improve your retention by putting more time into what you're writing in the description of your video. And one of the reasons I want to go back and talk about this is because people learn in different ways. And so you want your content to be helpful to multiple different types of people, no matter what their learning style is. And so obviously the main piece of your content is what you're saying on the camera and all of that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of people that are going to be a visual or an auditory learner, and looking at that video is going to be really helpful. But you're also going to have people like me who I didn't do well in the classroom, even through law school, because just listening to people, I didn't process information that well. But if you gave me a book, I could study it on my own and understand the concept really quickly, and that was how I learned. And so if you have this video and then you have this really good description, the people that are like me that might be your videos and might be interested in what you're saying, they might be more likely to watch you because you're putting all this great information inside of the description. So we're increasing retention, increasing watch time by having, a different medium for people to consume content, or for them to be able to consume it in different ways. And then the longer we can make that description, the better it's going to be for you, because they're going to be reading longer and you're going to get more view time. And so what I would recommend is tell stories in your description. And you tell stories because stories help you prove points. Stories create emotion, which get people to take action. Stories sell. And every good story needs a villain. And that's why every description needs an enemy that has to be conquered. And it doesn't have to be a person. A lot of times it's not. It's just something that is causing harm or difficulty for whoever the protagonist of your description is, whether that's you sharing your story, or the point of view of one of your clients, or maybe the viewer themselves is the protagonist of that story, and they are dealing with the difficulty or the harm that you're talking about. So we got their attention with the hook, with the problem or the pain or the benefit, the thing that they want, and then we've introduced to the story the enemy, which is the obstacle that is getting in the way, the thing that is preventing them from doing it. And then the turning point of the story in the description is when the protagonist rejects the false narrative, rejects that problem, realizes that that problem is not a real obstacle, it can be overcome. And by doing that, whether that from you presenting the solution or providing that aha moment to the reader, the viewer, you're going to create an emotional reaction that gets them to take action. And another big benefit of this is that if you practice writing in this way in your descriptions, you're actually going to get better at creating video content. You're going to get better at telling stories, which are going to make your videos more engaging and improve your retention. So step 6, after you have nailed your scripting, is that you need to edit your videos. And editing is important, but it doesn't need to be the big flashy editing. It doesn't have to be like these YouTube videos are. I'm fortunate to be able to afford to pay a really talented, editor that can go in and add some humor and add some engagement and things to make these videos better. But that's not what gets you the views at the end of the day. It enhances them. But early on, all you need to do is to follow your script and to jump cut. And if you don't know what a jump cut is, it's really simple. You just record every line of your video, one line at a time, and then you go through and you edit out the gaps. And it's called a jump cut. You've probably seen this because the person talks and in between each sentences they but it makes it really clear. And this is going to make it easier for you to record your content. It makes it easier for you to edit the content because you're not having to repeat yourself over and over and over. You're doing it one line at a time. And it's a natural, simple way to edit your videos. It works really well on TikTok because natural works best. People want to feel like they're seeing your stories or that they're on a FaceTime with you. That's the type of content they want to see. Only then would you start maybe adding captions, and you could just start with auto captions. You don't have to use the big fancy captions. One of the first things I would do is adding text onto the screen, using the headline like we talked about earlier to stop the scroll. And then eventually, just using the editor here inside of TikTok, you can start adding little effects if you want. You can do little zooms in or zooms out, which you see all the time here in these videos. You can start adding B-roll, which is when maybe there's a picture on the screen or there's some sort of video that kind of goes with the words that you're saying to help illustrate the point. Or you can add music. But these are all advanced things that you don't need to be successful. What you really need to be successful are good ideas that people want to watch. And that's why step 7 is just getting better at ideation, at coming up with ideas. I felt as I was putting this video together that this is kind of where ideas naturally fell in the steps of the system, and this is how I teach my clients. But I would be lying if I didn't say that your ideas are the most important thing outside of you being consistent that determine your performance on TikTok. So you want to spend most of your time just coming up with ideas. And the more ideas that you can come up with, the better your videos are going to perform, because as you go deeper into your niche and your topic and come up with more ideas and brainstorm and get inspiration, all of those things, that's when the great ideas start to come. You have to work through the crappy ideas to get to the great ones. And in order for you to start understanding what makes a great idea and what does well on the platform, you have to do the research. And so what you want to do is you want to start looking for outliers. You want to look for videos that are getting way more views than that creator would normally get. And so if you're looking at a competitor, you're looking at another creator in that niche, and they normally get 2,000 views every video, but then they get 30,000 on this video, 100,000 on this video, 1 million on this video. Those are outliers, right? Those are much better performing videos than what they normally have. And I call those gateway videos because it's showing you like this is a gateway for you to get views. This particular topic, this idea works. And what's great is because of the nature of TikTok, ideas and videos are short-lived. So if a video worked really well for one of your competitors, there's a good chance that it's going to work really well for you, because after that video has been pushed to its limit and it's been shown to everybody, TikTok is going to be looking for more similar videos about that idea or topic, so that way they can show them to those viewers, right? And you can take advantage of that to get some of those viewers to discover you. The flip side of that are your breakthrough videos. These are the videos of yours that are outliers that perform so well. You want to start paying attention to these things. I can't tell you how many times I've had people that have asked me to look at their accounts, and I've taken a look, and they're stuck 500 views on all their videos, and then they have this one video that gets 1 million views, this other video has 250,000 views, and then they go months without ever talking about those topics again. And that's just silly. You should be recycling your best content ideas over and over and over again. Lean into your winning videos by recreating those ideas. If you had a short video with text on screen and a trending sound, make that same video, just create a new video for the background, but it can be the same text and the same trending audio, and you don't have to worry about it being shown to the same people, because TikTok is going to show it to new people because they knew it was successful the first time, and they want to expand the reach of that video. They want to show it to as many people as possible. Since they know it works and they can keep people on the platform, they're going to show it. And so you might be able to recycle that video every 30 days for 6 months. You can use it tons of times. And for those longer videos where you're talking, the minute plus videos, you can recycle those too. Talk about the same topics. One of the interesting things, especially if you're a coach or an entrepreneur, is that people need to hear messages over and over and over for them to get through their heads and for them to understand them. I've had people in the comments of these videos that have told me, I've watched every single video out there on the algorithm. I've watched like 3 of your videos on the algorithm, and it never really clicked. And then I watched your most recent video, and finally all the pieces fell into place. And it's just because you might have finally described it in a different way. And so even if the people see the same videos, if they're interested in it, they're going to watch more. They're going to be looking for trying to better understand the topic or to glean new information that they didn't have the first time. And you can look outside of your niche or in niche adjacent areas for ideas as well. I do this all the time. A lot of my best TikTok growth videos have drawn inspiration from a successful YouTube growth video. And I'm not copying the information. There are 2 different algorithms, 2 different platforms, but if it was a good title, a good idea, a good thumbnail, I might take one or some combination of those ideas and adapt it to my niche. And since it's already proven, I know it has a higher likelihood of being successful. And so if you're a fantasy book talker, you might go look in the thriller book talk niche and see the types of content they're creating, and then bring that over to your niche. That way you have new, proven, great ideas. Now, once you get better at developing ideas, then you need to get better at filming, which is step 8. And this is not just like equipment. I'm not saying you have to go buy a fancy camera or anything. You can do everything on your phone like I do right now. I think there's a time to upgrade your tech eventually, but prove that you can do this and that you can stick to it and you can get results and start making money for it before you start investing in all this equipment, especially when you have an amazing camera right in front of you, right in your pocket, and you can sit in front of a window like I am to get good lighting. So you do want to improve your lighting. You want to have light on your face. You do want to improve things like your audio. And so you might invest in a cheap microphone or something like that, one of those little lapel mics. I don't have one right now. Like those can be good investments that are very cheap, very low dollar. But more than that, you want to get better on camera. You want to kind of embrace your personality, speak more naturally. You want to start building your confidence that you can do this and get from the point of like, I'm scared to record. I'm scared to create and post the content because what if it's not good enough, and get to the point where like you feel completely comfortable of just like, I have the script, I'm gonna turn on the camera, I'm gonna do my thing, I'm gonna post it to the world. And that confidence is only gonna come through showing up. It's gonna come through practice. And then once you start to feel confident and you start to develop your presence, you want to add personality and you want to add passion. You want to add energy to your videos. When you're excited about what you're talking about, when you're passionate about it, when you bring energy and excitement, people feel that through the screen and it makes them want to watch more. And at first that's hard. It takes some practice, but it gets easier with time. And one of the best ways that you can do this is through adding tonality. Tonality is like a fancy word for saying you're going to change your inflection. You're going to talk in different ways depending on the mood or what it is that you're saying. Like how I just went, the mood. Like that was weird. But this actually gets easier when you record one line at a time. Because when you record that one line at a time, you can take it slower, or you can speed it up, or you can raise the pitch of your voice, or however, like you can change the way that you're saying, that you're presenting that line to add that emotion and energy and that interest to what you're saying. And it just takes practice, and this is step 8 of 9, so like don't stress it too much. And then finally, we're going to get to step 9, which is you should use your analytics. I mean, for one, you can just, I think the easiest way to start is you just look at your own profile and you look at the videos that have done really well. Like if you're struggling for ideas, look at like what's performed well for you in the last 30 days, 60 days. Don't worry about like the internal analytics. Look at the views and recycle those ideas like we talked about earlier. That's like a simple way to use your analytics. Another way to use your analytics is to start looking at when you open the video and look at the retention graphs of your video, and you'll be able to see where is the drop off, like what percentage of people fall off of the video in the first 5 seconds. And you can use this information to figure out like, do I need to make better hooks? Like, do I need to do a better job of keeping people's attention? And it kind of goes to like what we talked about at the very beginning. Like you want to start with the biggest impact thing. Getting more people stop scrolling means more potential eyeballs in your video. And then getting people through the first 5 seconds means you have a bigger group of people that can watch your video all the way through. And so looking at that retention graph is kind of the first thing that I'm going to look at inside of my real analytics. The next part is the average watch time. Like if you're creating, most of your videos are falling in the 60 to 90 second range, then you want to start getting a feel for like, what is my average view duration, my percentage of watch time? Like what am I typically doing? And then try to improve that. Because the longer that percentage can be, the more people are watching, the better your video is going to perform. And then finally, I want to be looking at like how many people are watching the full video? Like what's the percentage? What is the finish rate? Because if we get into like the actual things that determine how the algorithm works and what makes them push videos, one of the biggest metrics is called play duration, which is the combination of like your watch time and then how many people actually finish the video. And what they want is for you to get the most watch time possible without your finish rate dropping. And so there's a couple of factors that can go into that. Like number 1 could be like these really abrupt endings where instead of you having like showcasing the video is almost over, hope you like the video, make sure you follow, make sure you like it, watch next week's video. Like instead of doing that kind of stuff, you just kind of end the video. You don't give them a chance to swipe off. But another thing you can do is finding that sweet spot in the video length. Like obviously if you want your videos to get paid under the Creator Rewards program, they need to be over 60 seconds long, but they could be 61 seconds long. And so like my client Bridget, she's getting 500,000, 1 million, multi-millions of views every single video she posts. And what she's found is that her sweet spot is between 60 and like 67 seconds in length. So she kind of has this 10-second little bit of play and she tries to stay in that length because if she goes past it, she might get more watch time, but her finish rate drops. And so therefore she doesn't end up getting as many views. And so you can start to use this data to make better videos and make better decisions about the technical aspects of your video. But there's a reason that this is step number 9. It's the last thing that you focus on because none of this stuff matters if you don't master the basics, if you don't get your mindset right and just show up and start creating videos. And I know that the biggest reason that people don't post videos is because they have questions. And even after this video, you might still have questions. There might be things that you want to figure out. So I want you to watch this video next. It's about how to grow on TikTok. It is a step-by-step guide. It is a 30-minute free course tutorial so you know exactly what to do and can have confidence and start posting.